May 11th, 1945. Luzon, Philippines. It is the darkest hour of the day, 5:47 in the morning. At this precise moment, even the insects in the jungle seem to be holding their breath. The air is thick, a viscous, humid weight, pressing down on the lungs of every living thing. This is Ding Allen Bay, an obscure coordinate in the vast Pacific theater. But in the next 36 minutes, this patch of earth is about to transform for Private First Class John McKinney of Company A, 123rd Infantry Regiment. The beginning of this morning offers no warning. There is no screaming siren of an air raid, no distant rumble of artillery, not even the snap of a twig. There is only death, barefoot and silent, creeping right up to the edge of his bed. At this moment, McKinney is in a deep sleep. It is that specific kind of soldier's sleep. Physically still, but aware, with a subconscious radar sweeping the perimeter. Yet, human senses have their limits against the cacophony of the tropical jungle. He does not detect that just meters away, a wave of shadows has ghosted through the darkness and infiltrated the heart of the defense. The first thing to shatter the silence is not a sound, but a sensation. A cold, meticulously sharpened Japanese officer's saber. The faint hiss of the blade cutting the air is drowned out instantly by the sickening dull thud of steel colliding with bone. If the angle of that blade had been true by even a single centimeter, John McKinney's story would have ended right there in the dirt. He would have died like so many others in this war, never waking up, never seeing the face of his killer, but the blade glances off. The razor edge slices through his scalp, severing part of his left ear, and slams hard into his parietal bone. Pain does not even have time to register in his cerebral cortex before the sheer kinetic force concusses his brain. McKinney is jolted awake in a haze of agony and vertigo. This is not a nightmare. This is a reality 10,000 times more terrifying. Hovering less than 2 feet above him is the face of a Japanese soldier, twisted, screaming in silence, eyes burning with a fanatical bloodlust. Because the first strike was not fatal, the attacker is already rearing back, adjusting his grip for the second killing blow. In this split second, where life hangs by a thread, time seems to dilate. McKinney's brain completely bypasses the process of thinking. What takes over his body is an instinct honed over 20 years in the pine forests of Screven County, Georgia. In those woods, there were no drill sergeants, no field manuals. There was only the predator, the prey, and the unforgiving law of survival. Lying on his back, his hands instinctively claw at his chest. Resting there is his most loyal companion, an M1 Garand rifle. In this fraction of a second, there is no room to level the barrel. The enemy is on top of him. McKinney lets out a roar, a primal sound detonating from the depths of his chest. He does not try to shoot. Instead, he grips the barrel with both hands, turning the heavy walnut stock into a primitive bludgeon, and with every ounce of adrenaline-fueled strength, he swings it upward. Crack. It is a wet, heavy sound. The solid wood stock smashes precisely into the Japanese soldier's face. The sound of the nasal bridge shattering is distinct and gruesome in the quiet morning. The attacker does not even have time to scream. His face collapses inward, and his body goes limp, toppling backward like a puppet with its strings cut. But this is only the opening note, before McKinney can even recover from the recoil of that strike. A second wave of killing intent floods in from his left. The first blow has saved his life, but it has also given away his position. Another Japanese soldier is screaming now, charging like a wounded boar. McKinney's vision is blurring. The wound on his scalp is pumping blood furiously, a warm red curtain blinding his eyes. He does not wipe it away. His finger is already inside the trigger guard. Clack bang. The bolt of the M1 Garand slams home, followed instantly by the roar of the .3006 round. The muzzle flash is blinding in the dark, illuminating the immediate area in a harsh orange strobe. The soldier charging from the left takes the round directly in the chest. A mist of blood erupts, and the kinetic energy lifts him off his feet, slamming him into the dirt, where he twitches once and goes still. The gunshot. That single shot is more than just a kill. It is the bell that wakes the entire battlefield. Instantly, the silent jungle boils over. More shadows pour from the tree line. They are no longer hiding. A deafening bands, a charge erupts. A psychological weapon designed to shatter American nerves. But to McKinney's ears, it sounds only like the noise of prey before the end. The position McKinney is defending was supposed to be anchored by an M1 9 for light machine gun. It was the heart of the defense. But in the initial silent rush, the gun crew has been decimated. One man is critically wounded, another is dragging him through the mud. Crawling toward safety in the rear, the machine gun, which should be spitting tongues of fire, sits silent and cold on its sandbags. A steel corpse without a soul. Now, there is only McKinney. He scans the perimeter, despite the blood in his eyes. The desperation of the situation is crystal clear. Approximately 100 Japanese soldiers are closing in like a tide. And he, standing 5'7", weighing 130 pounds, is alone. He holds a rifle that is not even fully loaded. This is not just a disadvantage, it is a death sentence. At that moment, a squad of 10 elite Japanese infantrymen separates from the shadows. Their objective is singular: capture the unmanned M1 machine gun. It is a textbook tactical maneuver. 3 men drop to a knee to provide suppression fire, their bullets kicking up dirt around McKinney's feet. The other 7 lower their centers of gravity and sprint. If they capture the gun and spin at 180 degrees, they will massacre Company A from behind with a rate of fire of 500 rounds per minute. If that breach opens, the entire line collapses, and hundreds of Americans will be butchered in their sleep. McKinney sees the play. He does not retreat. In a moment where every instinct screams to run, the hunter from Georgia does something insane. He leaps forward. He jumps directly into the foxhole, right into the blood-soaked pit where the machine gun sits. The foxhole is reinforced with sandbags and palm logs, about 6 feet wide and 4 feet deep, for 1 man. For the dozen men about to occupy it, it is a claustrophobic cage. The 7 charging Japanese soldiers dive into the hole, almost simultaneously with McKinney. They expected the American to flee. They did not expect the prey to jump into the trap. With them baring its teeth, the distance between combatants collapses to 0. At this range, a long barrel is usually a liability. But not for McKinney, not with the Garand. In the deep woods of Georgia, McKinney learned to shoot wild turkeys on the run. Through dense brush, that kind of shooting does not involve sights. It does not involve thinking. The gun is the arm, the eye is the sight. The first soldier hits the ground, bayonet rising. McKinney fires. The bullet cores through his torso. Bang. Bolt cycles. Reset. Fire. A second soldier tries to tackle him from the flank. McKinney pivots, shooting from the hip. Stock nowhere near his shoulder. Bang. The second body falls. Inside this narrow pit, the noise is apocalyptic. Every shot is a physical blow to the eardrums. The acrid smoke of burnt gunpowder instantly fills the space, choking the air. But the smoke becomes McKinney's ally. In the haze, he is a ghost. 3rd man, 4th man, 5th man. The semi-automatic advantage of the M1 Garand is pushed to its absolute mechanical limit. He does not have to work a bolt. He just has to pull the trigger. With every twitch of his finger, a life ends. In less than 8 seconds, 7 rounds are spent. Ping! The iconic sound of the en-bloc clip ejecting rings out. The chamber is empty. And right then, the remaining 3 Japanese soldiers are upon him. They heard the ping. They know the American is dry. This is their chance. They scream, lunging with bayonets from 3 directions. At this range, in this crush of bodies, reloading is physically impossible. McKinney does not even reach for his belt. His eyes are cold, devoid of panic. He flips the rifle, gripping the hot barrel with searing intensity. If you think a rifle is only for shooting, you have never seen John McKinney use it as a war hammer. Facing the first rusher, McKinney swings his arm in a wide arc, the solid walnut stock. Heavy and hard as iron, whistles through the air and connects with the soldier's temple. The sound is no longer the sharp crack of a rifle, but the sickening, wet crunch of collapsing bone. The soldier drops without a sound, his skull deformed. Riding the momentum of the swing, McKinney spins like a top delivering a backhand. The steel but plate smashes into the second soldier's throat. The sound of the larynx crushing is horrifying. The man clutches his throat, gargling blood, and collapses onto the pile of his comrades. The last soldier is broken. He has just watched a demon dismantle his squad. He thrusts his bayonet mechanically, but his form is sloppy. McKinney sidesteps, the blade steps in and drives the butt of the rifle into the man's chest with the force of a battering ram. Ribs snap. The heart stops. The last enemy falls. The melee pauses. The floor of the foxhole is now carpeted with 10 Japanese bodies. Warm blood pools in the bottom, soaking McKinney's boots. The air is thick with the copper scent of blood and cordite. McKinney gasps for air, his chest heaving violently. His hands are still clamped around the blood-slicked rifle. During the brawl, the feed mechanism of the machine gun was smashed, destroyed beyond repair. It does not matter anymore. No living enemy will touch it, but he knows this is just the eye of the storm. Deep in the jungle, branches snap. The sound of a large force moving. Japanese officers are shouting orders. The ferocity of the resistance at this small outpost has convinced them they have hit the main American line. They are massing everything they have to crush it. McKinney has to move. Staying here is suicide. He crawls out of the pit of death, scrambling backward to the cover of a fallen dipterocker tree. The log is massive, 4 feet in diameter, nature's own concrete wall. He slumps against the rough bark, his shaking hands fumbling for a fresh 8-round clip from his belt. Click-clack, the bolt slides home. The rifle is alive again. He checks his inventory. 7 clips on his belt, 1 in the gun. 56 rounds. Facing him 80 to 100 experienced, enraged enemy soldiers. It is a math equation that equals death. 553 them. The second wave begins. This time the enemy is smarter. They don't charge blindly. 15 veteran soldiers from a loose skirmish line, using the trees and brush for cover, advancing by bounding over watch. They are hunting him like a pack of wolves. They have spotted his general position from the muzzle flashes. Suddenly, Type 97 hand grenades begin to rain down. Boom, boom. Explosions walk up and down the length of the fallen log. Dirt, shrapnel, and wood splinters spray the air. The concussion waves hammer against McKinney's chest. The massive log absorbs the shrapnel, but the shock is disorienting. Under the cover of the dust and smoke, the Japanese infantry rush forward. McKinney does not panic. He presses his cheek to the stock. Peering through the haze, as a hunter, the most valuable skill isn't tame, it's patience. He waits. He waits for the kill zone. 40 yards, a soldier leans out to throw a grenade. Bang! McKinney's shot drills through his chest. The grenade drops from his hand, exploding harmlessly at the enemy's feet. 35 yards, another soldier sprints for cover. McKinney's barrel tracks him smoothly, like leading a bird on the wing. Bang! Moving target. 1 shot. The remaining soldiers are terrified by this supernatural accuracy. They dive for cover. Pinned down. McKinney realizes his position is compromised. If he stays, the next thing to fall will not be a grenade. It will be a mortar shell. He starts to move. He slithers like a snake, belly flat, against the mud using a depression. In the ground only 18 inches deep, he crawls back toward the company supply point. Every inch of movement is a gamble. Above him, Japanese bullets shred the foliage. He reaches the Suplike Aship Isle of rocks. He grabs two bandoliers of ammunition, slinging them over his shoulder. 60 extra rounds. They are heavy, but they feel like salvation. He now has 176 rounds. He moves again. Just as he clears the area, the Japanese Type 89 knee mortars open fire. Thump. Boom. The first shell lands 30 yards away, the second 25 yards. The third shell slams directly into the fallen log he just abandoned. If he had hesitated for 30 seconds, he would be missed. The Japanese mortar crews are walking their fire toward him, bracketing his position. McKinney doesn't stop. He turns the jungle into his playground. He moves from tree to termite mound, never staying in one spot for more than 2 minutes. To the Japanese, it seems like the woods are filled with an entire platoon of American snipers. No matter where they try to flank, a bullet is waiting for them. 60 yards out, 8 soldiers try a coordinated rush across a clearing. But this is exactly what McKinney wants. To a man who shoots fast-moving squirrels in the treetops, a human running in the open is a barn door. He regulates his breathing, ignoring the burning in his lungs. First shot. The leader falls. Shift aim. Second shot. The flanker drops. Third shot. The rhythmic bark of the Garand becomes the metronome of the battle. 8 men charged. 5 die before they cross halfway. The remaining 3 break, throwing down their rifles. This scene repeats itself 6 times over the next 30 minutes. McKinney enters a state of flow. His movements are fluid, almost mechanical. Fire until the clip pings. Hit the clip latch. Insert fresh clip. Rack the slide. For seconds, this terrifying rate of fire completely suppresses the enemy's bolt action. Arisaka S. 6:40 a.m. McKinney falls back to his final line of defense, a 5-foot, all termite mound. He is physically shattered. Sweat and blood have soaked through his uniform, turning it a dark crimson. His hands tremble from the recoil and the trauma, but his eyes are still focused sharp as obsidian. The Japanese seem to realize that there is only one man left. They decide to gamble everything. 3 soldiers abandon all cover. They sprint full speed toward the termite mound. They are trading their lives for distance. If they get close enough, one grenade ends it. McKinney takes a breath. 40 yards. First man down. 35 yards. Second man takes a round to the chest, tumbling into the grass. The last man is the most determined. He uses his dead comrades as distractions, sprinting to within 15 yards. He dives behind a large rock. McKinney sees it clearly. The soldier pulls a grenade. He pulls the pin. He strikes the fuse against his helmet. That is the sound of the delay fuse starting. In 4 seconds, that grenade will be in the air. At this range, behind an open mound, McKinney is dead. This is the precipice. The Reaper has the Sith against his throat. McKinney does not duck. He knows hiding means dying. The only way out is to kill the enemy in the fraction of a second before he throws. He leans out, exposing himself. The stock hits his shoulder. The front sight finds the sliver of the enemy's torso visible around the rock. Bang. This shot carries his entire will to live. The bullet threads the needle, piercing the soldier's chest. The impact knocks the man backward. The grenade pin pulled and fuse burning slips from his limp fingers and drops between his own legs. Boom. A muffled explosion shakes the ground. Black smoke rises from behind the rock. The final threat has been vaporized. The jungle falls silent, and then, from behind him, comes the sound of boots and an American voice. McKinney, McKinney, where are you? It is the relief squad. When the 8 heavily armed Americans creep up to the position, they stop dead in their tracks. Radiating out from the termite mound is a field of slaughter. The jungle floor is littered with Japanese bodies. Trees are splintered, the earth is churned. when they find the small blood-soaked figure leaning against the termite mound, gasping for air they cannot believe. Their eyes. The squad leader rushes forward, checking him over frantically. "My God, John, are you hit?" McKinney looks up. Through the mask of dried blood and grime, he offers a faint, tired smile. He pats the stock of his M1, the barrel still radiating heat. "I am all right," he whispers. 7 a.m. The sun finally breaks through the canopy, illuminating the carnage. The patrol begins to count. Around the initial foxhole, there are 38 bodies stacked like cordwood, near the mortar position to moor. Confirmed kills 40. John R. McKinney, in 36 minutes, has single-handedly eliminated an entire platoon's worth of enemy soldiers. Even the trails of blood leading into the jungle, where the enemy dragged away their wounded, the real number is likely much higher. Company A held. Because McKinney acted as the anchor, the 100 Japanese attackers failed to breach the flank. If they had passed him, 190 American soldiers would likely have been massacred. The battalion commander's report was brief. But Heavy McKinney's gallant action saved the lives of 50 to 70 American soldiers directly and prevented the collapse of the entire defensive line. January 23, 1946. The White House. President Harry S. Truman places the Medal of Honor around John McKinney's neck. The president holds the hand that once used a rifle stock to crush his skull and asks, "Son, what do you want to do now?" McKinney, still the shy boy from the Georgia back, would speak softly. "Mr. President, I just want to go home. I want to hunt in the pines and fish in the river," and he kept his word. For the next 51 years, the man who fought like a god of war vanished. He never married. He lived alone in a small wooden shack in Screven County. He refused interviews. He refused to stand on stages and boast. To him, those 36 minutes were not glory. They were a duty, a nightmare he wished to forget. He wandered the same pine forests, hunting deer and turkey, just as he did before the war. The only difference was a jagged scar on his errand, a silence in his soul that only combat veterans understand. In 1997, when he passed away, his legendary M1 Garand rifle was placed on his casket. This was the rifle that fired 40 lives, saving shots before dawn. This was the rifle that crushed the enemy when the ammunition ran dry. This was the witness to how an ordinary man summoned impossible strength. The story of John McKinney teaches us that heroism isn't about shiny armor or fearless war cries. True heroism is when you are covered in blood, terrified, and completely alone, yet you choose to grip your weapon tight and fight for the brother behind you. He came from the darkness, burned bright when the world needed him, and then quietly returned to the deep woods he loved. That is a true legend. If this story moved you, please hit that like button. Every like helps ensure that heroes like John McKinney are not lost to the tide of time. Click subscribe and turn on notifications. Every day, we dig through the dusty archives to bring you the forgotten epics of history. Now, tell me in the comments, where are you watching from? Do you have a veteran in your family? Let's keep their memories alive together.